Nothing's safe on the internet, viruses are everywhere, and most people have fallen victim to at least one in their life. We all know not to click suspicious links, and to be careful when browsing the web.
Oops, my system crashed. I lost my data, but I had an antivirus.
But sometimes we let our guards down. We expect something to be safe, and we're comfortable downloading it without thinking twice. Usually this comes from trust over a product or service.
Your entire system virus-free, safe and secure.
With Veloz to make it faster than the day you got it.
So you click that download button, without care in the world, you're excited to play your new game. Steam would never infect me. I'll just click allow and... How did this happen? I thought Steam was safe. 88% of data breaches are caused by human error. With modern antiviruses, it's hard to sneak malicious downloads past somebody without them knowing, so getting them to accept the download, despite them being warned of it, is the best bet for hackers. And what's a better place to do this than through Steam? Steam sees 70 million daily active users. Some of them will make mistakes, and when they do, the consequences can be massive. For a small sum of $100, anyone can upload a game onto Steam.
The cost is $100. This fee comes for security by the means of you not publishing, or for you not publishing a bad game or games that is restricted or is not included with the guidelines of Steam.
And if you do manage to get your malware past the security checks, you just paid $100 to get access to hundreds of millions of people who now have the potential to download your malware. You'd be stupid not to try. Contrary to what most think, Steam is not safe. Over 99.9% of the downloads are legitimate, but there's been numerous examples of malicious software on Steam. Sometimes this may be on accident, with legitimate games being compromised. Other times, it's just a front for a developer infecting your device. So I'm going to take a look at the viruses of Steam. This is going to be a long video, so sit tight, and I'm going to go in order of least to most harmful to keep things interesting. Starting off with a project named Nano War, Cells vs Virus. At first glance, the game looks inoffensive and honestly, not great. But it was developed by one man named Benoit, an aspiring game dev working solo on his games. To date, it's the only project released by Benoit, and I'm sure this is a reason why. His game would release to mediocre reviews, and it just seemed like another indie game that nobody cared about. But then, reports started coming in, people claiming that the game was a virus, that it was malware, that it was a crypto miner. What's common with a lot of these games is people don't know the difference between a lot of the terms, so they all get thrown around at the beginning. People who had downloaded the game on their device started getting ominous messages from Steam. We are contacting you because you recently launched Nano War Cells vs Virus on Steam. The Steam account for the developer of this game was recently compromised and the attackers uploaded a build that contained malware. If you played Nano War Cells vs Virus on Steam during this time period, it is likely that the malware infected your computer. The build containing the suspected malware was promptly reverted and purged from Steam, but we strongly encourage you to run a full system scan using an antivirus product that you trust and use regularly, and inspect your system for unexpected and newly installed software. Valve claimed that less than 100 people downloaded this malware-laced game, which can't really be confirmed. Whether it's true or not, Valve is going to try and downplay this number, of course, because it looks bad on them. So Benoit would take to Twitter to clear his name and put the rumors that he was intentionally spreading malware to bed. Hey Simon, I'm the developer of this game. All my accounts were hacked by a token grabber malware. Unfortunately, the 2FA is useless if the token is still active. I just used my dev account to release the game a few hours before the hack, I suppose. So essentially, Benoit released a legitimate game, but hackers managed to gain access to his Steam dev account through a token grabber, and they've rolled an update out on his legitimate game that was already on Steam to introduce malware into the game files. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, but the way Benoit handled this is really upsetting. He plays full victim to it and takes zero responsibility for his mistakes, claiming, "I see too many articles treated our game like plague. We are victim twice." And yeah, although he may not have been the one to upload the malware, he was careless with his account security, and up to 100 people, allegedly, suffered as such, and his game definitely paid for this. No matter how good the game is or how safe it may be now, I do recommend you avoid it. It's not worth the risk, and I don't think we'll be seeing many games from Benoit in the future. Up next, we've got Abstractism. This is one of the most creative malicious Steam downloads. Calling it a virus might not be entirely accurate, but it deserves to be here, and you'll agree once you see what this game can do. Abstractism is a pretty standard platformer with an ASMR soundtrack. Okay, but we don't care about the gameplay. Abstractism had a really interesting way of scamming people. In case you don't know Steam too well, playing a game on Steam can drop playing cards. These are sellable on the Steam market, usually just for a couple of pence each, and Abstractism had these cards, which isn't unusual for a game, but here's where it gets interesting. This is an item from TF2. You can get it from opening loot boxes, and it's valued around $200-ish, and here's a card from Abstractism. So essentially, it's creating fake items that can be sold on the Steam market to deceive and scam users into thinking they're the real ones. And we have proof of this from a post of Poor Asian Boy. Instead of me explaining it, I'm going to play a segment from Sid Alpha's video on this. It's quite an old video, but it's really good, and I'll leave the link to it in the description.
The story that got me interested in taking a look at what was going on was due to a Twitter posting that led me back to Backpack TF forums, in which the user Poor Asian Boy was talking about how he was scammed during a trade of a Team Fortress 2 strange Australian rocket launcher, which sells for between $70 and $130 on the Steam marketplace. Paying $100 and accepting the offer while in-game without really taking the time to scrutinize the offer, which makes sense. TF2 is owned by Valve, and the Australian rocket launcher is a fairly unique-looking item. However, the item he received was the strange professional killstreak Australian rocket launcher attached to the game Abstractism, a virtually worthless item compared to the one that he thought he was getting. Now, when I went to check the item in question, I saw the developers were already attempting to cover their tracks, changing the name of the item to Nope and changing the image as well. However, when you look at the address URL, it still clearly shows the original name of the item, Strange Professional Killstreak Australian Rocket Launcher.
So essentially, by using an exploit, users and developers could farm an infinite supply of these fake TF2 items and use them to scam users out of the real items or things of equal value. As scummy as this might be, I can only admire the creativity of the scam. It's a lot more interesting to talk about than something that just steals your details. But something a bit less creative and fun is the crypto miner and malware also included in the game. Yay, great. Because obviously fake TF2 items isn't enough of a shady practice. Doing a malware scan on the game files positively tests for trojans. Essentially, the game is gathering the user's data in the background, taking advantage of those just trying to play the game and also those who are trying to farm these fake TF2 items.
Valve has cracked down pretty heavily on Steam trading cards, making it harder and harder to earn money through the use of Steam trading card bot farms. But a game that drops marketplace items at a rate of 7 per week, and some of those items have actual value, that is actually more than what you would get from a Steam trading card harvesting bot in most cases, and multiply those items by bot farms that contain hundreds and thousands of bots. All the while, you'd have to be running the game using its launcher in order for the Steam service executable to drop the items, meaning the game's developers just turned every Steam bot farmer into their own personal crypto miner in addition to the legitimate players of the game.
Oh yeah, and it's been proven that the game is a crypto miner. How fun. The proportion of CPU, GPU, and RAM usage is consistent with what you'd expect from a crypto miner. The resources used are not only graphical in nature, but they include a sizable amount of disk space, which again is not expected from a game of this complexity. But it is expected of a crypto miner. Abstractism isn't a game, it's just a crypto miner that encourages the use through the promise that players can make money through these fake item drops, and it's quite impressive. We have a game named Dinotopia. It's an old project from 2016. Unfortunately, very little is known about the game. It's almost 10 years old. The only thing I could find is this screenshot, so I'm sorry about that. But it's back from when Steam had a service known as Steam Greenlight. Steam Greenlight was essentially a forum where developers could upload their games to, and the community could test them out, review them, play the best ones, and then Steam would add those to the store. It doesn't really make sense, and it was discontinued in 2017, shortly after the event to Dinostopia, which I doubt is a coincidence. If you were browsing Steam Greenlight back in 2016, you might have seen Dinotopia. It had a 4-star review, so the game looked promising. Clicking the download button, it wouldn't download the game through Steam like all the other games would. This is an immediate red flag. The developer knew that Valve would detect the malware in the files and deny the upload, so they just used their own download site instead. This goes with all Steam downloads in the future. If you ever get redirected to a different site or told to click a link for a download, don't do it. Even if you trust the game, you never know if they've been compromised or not. It just means that the developers know that Steam wouldn't approve of the download. Anyway, Dinostopia had a whole number of things it could do to your device. It's known for the script that would run on install, where it would take control of your Steam account. It would use it to boost the game on Steam Greenlight, leaving a 5-star rating and writing a positive review.
Beta goes above and beyond too by using your Steam profile to upvote the game itself on Greenlight, favorite it, and even add a positive comment about it to your Steam profile. And it doesn't even need your permission to do that.
What?
Yeah, the setup file creates a script that runs in the background on your PC to make changes to Steam on your behalf.
The game had a 4-star overall rating before it was purged from the site. This only helps Dinostopia get even more downloads. And surely there was a point to leaving all these fake reviews on the game. I doubt it was just trying to gain more downloads to support the development projects. Oh yeah, and most of the games in this video I'm calling projects because they're not even games, they just call themselves games so they can go on Steam. But some of them aren't even playable. Dinostopia also contained a very destructive malware. It could control your device, log keystrokes, turn on your webcam and lock you out of your files. And after browsing a lot for this video, I couldn't find anybody complaining that it actually did these things. There's no recorded instance of it using any of these features, but it is confirmed that they are there and it was capable of doing so. Most people speculate that it was like a stock malware type thing where it had all of these included features, but they weren't going to be used, it was just included. But putting on my tinfoil hat for a moment, I have to disagree. Why would they just want reviews for their game? It wasn't even a real game, so it makes no difference. I reckon they were just waiting on the payloads for the game to get a certain amount of downloads while flying under Valve's radar. As soon as they would launch the malicious code, Valve would take notice and terminate it, so they were waiting for the best time where it had the most downloads, because they only had one shot. But that's just my opinion anyway. The creator is this guy, Matt. That's definitely not his real name. This picture's also confirmed to not be him. His Steam profile's been private for years. It was cleared of all traces of Dinostopia and such, but I managed to pull an archive of it, and we can see the announcement of the game on his artwork page. Matt attempted to infect as many people as possible with his malware through the lie of a real game, using positive reviews to get more downloads. Luckily, it was discovered before it could go that far, but this could have been really bad for Valve, and it definitely led to the shutdown of Greenlight. As of making this video, PirateFi was a recent release on Steam. Most of the other projects have been 5+ years old. PirateFi shows that this is still a plague on Steam. Even in 2025, it's not safe. PirateFi was a low-poly survival game with a gameplay style like Minecraft, but you know, bad. In just a week, it was clearing 1,500 downloads. If this was a real game, that would be considered a massive success for an indie title, but it wasn't a real game. None of these are. It was made with a template named Easy Survival RPG. Its purpose was to be a malicious download front. PirateFi had what's known as a VDAR malware. This is a sort of info grabber that's popular with a lot of hackers. It's often packed into downloads of pirated and cracked software. If you ever downloaded a crack of Adobe, it probably had one of these in. They can be embedded in installers, and without a decent antivirus, it's tough to detect. And this is exactly what was in PirateFi, through Steam by the way. All the users' details like credit card numbers, emails, passwords, and phone numbers would be logged, passed along to developers and sold off likely. It seems they created a fake publisher and developer name, shoerec Interactive, with a fake email that leads to nothing. This isn't a real email, don't try contacting it, and it's much more legitimate and professional than a lot of the other games, which is probably why it was so much more successful. It had 5 people playing concurrently at once, 1,500 downloads in just a week. It might not seem like a lot, but that is a huge number for people who just downloaded malware, and they all had highly sensitive information stolen. Even if they don't know it, it definitely happened. And it's no doubt to me that shoerec Interactive made a fortune off of this, probably tens of thousands.